In the summer of 1947, something unusual started happening over America. Objects were being seen in the sky that nobody could explain, not by one or two people, by hundreds of witnesses across the country. Civilians, military personnel, law enforcement, people whose job it was to observe and report accurately. And every report was describing the same basic thing: something circular, something fast. Something that didn't behave like any aircraft anyone had ever built. At first, the military treated these the way institutions always treat uncomfortable information. They collected the reports, filed them, and said very little publicly. But behind closed doors, the volume of sightings was impossible to ignore. Senior officers were being asked questions they couldn't answer. Engineers were being shown descriptions of objects that violated basic aerodynamic principles, and the reports kept coming, week after week, from every corner of the country. By September 1947, the Air Force had seen enough to take formal action. They assigned the task of evaluating the evidence to a senior general named Nathan Twining, who commanded the Air Materiel Command at Wright Field in Dayton, Ohio. Twining spent months going through everything: the witness accounts, the radar data, the technical analysis from his engineers. And on September 23rd, he submitted his conclusions in a classified memo to the Air Force Chief of Staff. What he wrote was not what anyone hoping for a simple explanation wanted to read. The phenomenon, Twining said, is something real. Not misidentifications, not weather, not the overactive imaginations of civilians, in his exact words, not visionary or fictitious. He described the objects in detail, circular or elliptical in shape. Flat on the bottom, domed on top, metallic surface that reflected light, nearly completely silent, and fast, moving at speeds above 300 knots at level flight. No aircraft in the world in 1947 flew like that. But the speed wasn't the part that concerned Twining most. It was the behavior. These objects weren't drifting randomly through the atmosphere. They flew in formation, groups of 3, sometimes as many as 9, moving in coordinated patterns. And when military aircraft got close, they changed direction, deliberately. Twining used one specific word to describe this: evasive. Something up there knew it was being followed and chose not to be caught. Twining laid out 3 possibilities for what these objects might be. The first, a secret American program so highly classified that even someone at his level hadn't been told about it. The second, a foreign power, with technology so advanced it was outside of anything America understood. The third option he circled around carefully without ever stating directly. He recommended a full formal investigation involving the Army, the Navy, and the Atomic Energy Commission. That recommendation, and the memo it was written in, stayed classified for decades. 3 months after Twining's memo in December 1947, Colonel H.M. McCoy, the Chief of Intelligence at Wright Field, sent a follow-up letter to the Chief of Staff. The reports he wrote were still coming in, from qualified observers, and the Intelligence Department was continuing to collect and analyze everything. This was 3 months later. Nothing had slowed down. If anything, the situation was becoming more structured. That same month, a unit of the Air Force submitted photographs taken at an airfield in California, real photographs of a disc sighting submitted through official military channels. The Air Force looked at them and declared the marks were defects in the film, not pictures of flying discs, and then issued a directive requesting that no further investigation be made into that specific incident. They had photographs submitted by their own personnel, and they shut it down within days. On December 30th, a formal classified project was established. It was given a code name, Project EA, and a priority classification of 2A. Its official purpose was to collect, evaluate, and distribute all information on these objects. This wasn't a group formed to explain away the reports. It was a system built to manage them, to make sure everything was captured, organized, and kept within a very specific chain of command. By early 1948, the Air Force had sent written instructions to military installations across the entire country. If you see something in the sky you can't identify, report it immediately through official channels. Every base, every unit. A standardized, nationwide, classified reporting system for objects they were publicly dismissing. Both things were happening simultaneously. The public statement said there was nothing credible to investigate. The internal directives said the opposite. The sightings didn't stop. In March 1948, two civilians in California independently reported watching objects fall from the sky, one of them trailing red and black smoke. Search parties were sent out. Aircraft covered the area. Rescue units searched the terrain. Nothing was found, no wreckage, no physical trace of anything. The report went to the Air Force, the FBI, Army intelligence, and naval intelligence all at once. No explanation was ever given. That same month, an officer proposed keeping fighter jets on standby across the continental United States, ready to intercept these objects the moment they appeared. The proposal was rejected. The reason stated in the official response was that the Air Force lacked sufficient radar coverage to reliably track the objects well enough to even attempt an interception. The United States Air Force, in a classified document from March 1948, acknowledged that these objects could appear and disappear faster than their systems could respond to. By April, a successor project called Project Sign was operational, and among the things it was doing was collecting newspaper clippings, every public article anywhere in the country that mentioned unidentified aerial objects. These were being indexed and forwarded to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. The military was tracking what civilians were seeing, tracking what journalists were writing, all of it classified, none of it discussed publicly. On a night in May 1948, 4 employees of a railway company in Ohio reported a round glowing object moving at high speed through the sky, leaving a trail of light behind it at an altitude of several miles. Their report was taken by an FBI agent and forwarded through official channels. It was classified and filed. The accompanying note from the military unit that received it contained a phrase that appears again and again across these documents. This headquarters is not initiating any investigation. Receive the report, forward it, file it, move on. That was the procedure. In June 1948, the Air Force's Intelligence Division quietly held onto a technical report on radical disc-shaped aircraft that had been designed by German engineers during the Second World War. The Horten brothers had built flying wing designs that were unlike anything the Allies had developed, unconventional shapes, advanced aerodynamics, years ahead of their time. The Air Force was sitting on Nazi aerospace documents at the same time they were collecting hundreds of disc sighting reports from across America. What conclusion, if any, they drew from that combination is not recorded in any document that has been released. What all of these files show, when you read them together, is not an institution that dismissed what people were seeing. It's an institution that took it seriously from the very beginning. They assigned senior officers. They built classified reporting systems. They created code names and priority classifications. They tracked the sightings, the photographs, the physical evidence, and kept all of it away from the public. The most senior aviation officer in the country wrote in an official document that the objects were real. His conclusion was buried. The investigation continued under different names. And to this day, no official body has ever fully accounted for what's written in these pages.